General Laws Committee concerning procurement and open government. Very happy to have all the folks that we do with us today. We will just have one important bill on the agenda, but I'd like to introduce everyone, have opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves, beginning at that end of the table.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Bill Wiley, 32nd District, Winchester, Frederick County. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for letting me be involved.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Rob Blocks, I'm 100th District. It's the Eastern Shore and Virginia Beach.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Carrie Coiner, representing the 75th District, home to portions of Chesterfield County, the entire city of Hopewell, and portions of Prince George County.
George Kane, Clerk for General Laws.
Betsy Carr, a delegate for the 78th District, which is a large part of Richmond.
Hi, Marcus Simon for the 13th District, which has got the City of Falls Church and parts of Fairfax County, and happy to be back on this subcommittee.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Carrie Delaney, delegate for the 9th District, Western Fairfax County, and pleased to join your committee.
Good afternoon, Joshua Cole, delegate for the 65th District, City of Fredericksburg, Stafford County, and Spotsylvania County, and I am excited to join this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Adele McClure, and I represent the 2nd House District in parts of Arlington County.
Thank you, colleagues. We're going to move right along and hear our first bill, which is presented by our chairman.
In terms of excitement levels for being on this particular subcommittee, Delegate Cole was much more convincing than Delegate Simon. Madam Chair, thank you for having this bill heard today. I do have a clarifying line amendment, if I could direct that to Ms. Binns.
Yes, Madam Chair. On line 47, after writing strike at the beginning of negotiations, and insert at the time of responding to such request for proposal, if so requested by the public body.
I move the line amendment, I guess.
Second.
Voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Members of the subcommittee. So House Bill 242 is a recommendation of the Public Body Procurement Work Group. And we had mentioned this earlier, but for those of you who are not familiar with this particular work group, we actually created this in 2001 or 2021 in the budget, and it was in recognition that procurement can be complicated. It can have a lot of different ramifications, and if we don't get it right, it can have some unintended consequences, especially for procurement. And so this was an opportunity to set up a body of experts to really look at these bills in the off year and then make recommendations back to the General Assembly. The issue that House Bill 242 addresses is this. And so typically when an agency sends out a request for proposals, a potential vendor is asked to note any changes or exceptions that they want to make with the terms and conditions that are put into the RFP, right? And so if I am putting in a bid, I can say, hey, I'm putting in this bid, but would the vendor or would the public body consider changes to X, Y, and Z terms and conditions, or would you please go ahead and do that? And if they are shortlisted, then they actually sit down and have a discussion with the procuring body, trying to explain why they want to have certain changes to the terms and conditions. The procuring body can say yes, they can say no, they can pick some, they can go ahead and pick all, and if they're not able to come to an agreement, they have every right to move on to the next highest bidder. There has been a trend, however, where you have agencies that have actually started to score proposals based on whether there are proposed exceptions to terms and conditions and how many, right? So they might go ahead and ding you for it. They might give you extra points if you don't have any of those. But what that does is two things. And so first, for some very highly qualified vendors, it actually presents the risk of being eliminated for consideration by even proposing terms and conditions that might not fit within, the box that the agency is used to. And so it actually stifles creativity, so if you have a vendor come in and say, hey, how about we frame it this way, it can actually knock them out of contention. And so it keeps them from being creative in a way that might benefit both the agency and the vendor. The other thing, and this is part that I'm also concerned about, is that it takes away from the most relevant factors. And so you can have someone who might have superior technical approach, they might have better experience, they might hit all the right metrics with respect to small and women and minority business targets, but they actually lose to a less qualified vendor because the company wanted to raise concerns about the terms and conditions and just have the opportunity to go ahead and talk about that. It's been a particular issue for tech companies, and so they're the ones who really brought this forward, but I also can see why it would be a problem for all different procurement opportunities. So last year, the Finance and Appropriations Committee and the body down the hall asked for the procurement work group to study this and to issue some recommendations for our consideration. And so in this case, what the work group did, they looked at best practices, and came up with 2 recommendations, which is permitting the continued use of being able to request all exceptions of terms and conditions when you're submitting the RFP, right? And so a company who's a vendor still has to state up front, hey, I want you to consider changes to terms and conditions, but with respect to actually evaluating those, you can't be scored on them. They are part of the discussion after you've been shortlisted, and that's traditionally how things have ultimately been. So anyways, that is the bill. It's relatively simple. I know that there's some folks here who are interested in testifying. I can also tell you who sits on that procurement work group. It's a pretty cool group of folks, but happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions from committee members? Delegate Simon.
So real quick, just to make sure I'm wrapping my head around what this bill does. So I remember about 25 years ago, I worked for the Board of Supervisors, and we wanted like a constituent contact software so we could keep track of, hey, these things. And the company that came back said, we have an off-the-shelf product that does everything you're asking for and a lot more, but a lot differently. And we can give that to you a lot cheaper than if we build a custom piece of software just for you. And so is that sort of the problem that this is trying to get at? So that we wouldn't, even though their product didn't match the RFP because we didn't necessarily know what we were asking for. They had a less expensive technology that was going to look a lot different but could be done better. Is that sort of what we're trying to solve here?
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to solve here. And again, terms and conditions can be, numerous things, and so they can actually be the contract terms and conditions that might say, hey, you've got to do things X, Y, and Z. But the idea is to allow for a company to come in and propose alternatives or even raise concerns about how something is structured without being dinged to throw them out of contention when, ultimately it might actually be something the agency would like or should consider.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Delegate, you said there were some other folks who wanted to speak on behalf of the bill?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, Andrew Lamar speaking on behalf of the Richmond Technology Council, as well as the Virginia Chamber of Commerce in support of the bill. The patron explained it perfectly, so I won't go back through it, but was a strong recommendation of the work group and hope that you all support it today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Randy Pearson, Two Capitals Consulting on behalf of the Roanoke Chamber of Commerce. We strongly support the bill and hope you will act favorably upon it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Elizabeth Rafferty, Hunt and Andrews Kurth, here on behalf of the Northern Virginia Technology Council, and we support the bill.
Thank you.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'm Christy Morton with Two Capitals Consulting on behalf of the Roanoke-Blacksburg Tech Council, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Thomas. I'm with McGraw Woods Consulting, representing CGI Technologies, which has its U.S. headquarters in Fairfax County. We want to thank Delegate Bulova, thank the Richmond Technology Council for carrying this. Delegate Bulova explained well one side of it to Delegate Simon's question. The terms and conditions are often integral to the proposal that a company is being made. CGI might have one way of delivering what the Commonwealth needs. Accenture, Deloitte, other companies would have different ways, and they also affect, very importantly, the cost. So during negotiations, if the Commonwealth wants a different net number of days for payment, that will adjust the cost. If the Commonwealth wants something additional out of a company, the company may say, well, if you are willing to share a little more risk over here, then we can do it at no additional cost, those sorts of things. But the main thing that's happening right now is, in order to get 100% of the points, which in some cases I've seen account for 10% of the scoring overall, you have to take no exception. Otherwise, you get dinged on down very quickly.
Thank you. Any other comments in support? Any comments in opposition? Any movement from the committee members?
Madam Chair, move to report.
Second.
Thank you. We will go to the board. Please register your vote. Yeah, I think you did. Delegate Boulevard, your bill passes 8-0.
Marvelous. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee.
I think you should still show up for full.
Okay. Any other business to come before the committee? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
There you go.
Thank y'all.